Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Farazin Nofrian Purba. My student number is 234-10-488. So the topic that I choose is the implementations of agrarian reform in Indonesia and also the issues. So basically, the implementations of agrarian reforms in Indonesia has been multifaceted process characterized by both significant strides uh, and persistent challenges. So some of the overview in basic agrarian law, or usually we call it UUPA, in 1960, this law was aimed to recognize a land tenure, redistribute land from large landowners, and recognize the right of indigenous communities. And the important things is it established the framework for land registrations, classifications, and the use of the land. So agrarian reform in Indonesia addressed historical land inequality root in colonial times. So as I said before, basic agrarian law of Indonesia was created to reorganize land tenure that previously was regulated by the Dutch colonial government, which resulting uh, inequality for local people, for native people in the Dutch era. And also, by granting the land ownership to small farmers, agrarian reform supports local development, reduce conflicts, and promotes social and economic empowerment in rural areas. As I said before, the establishment of the framework of basic agrarian law was consists land registrations, classifications, and the use of the land. So, what are the key issues? There are four issues that I want to advance and at these presentations. The first is inequality. So, inequality in land ownership, giving a small percentage of wealthy for individuals and corporation control significant portion of the land, which means what we call it's restrict access for rural communities and deepen socioeconomic disparities. Uh, these concentrations also limits opportunities for equitable development and leaves many small farmers without secure land rights, undermining effort to reduce poverty and empower rural populations. So it sounds like uh, restrict the um, ownerships to limit opportunities for equitable development. So the next one is the legal barriers. It's not only legal barriers, it's also contain bureaucratic, uh, complex process, outdated land laws, and ambiguous land rights create administrative obstacles that slow down reform efforts and discourage community participations. Already stipulated, it can create the administrative problem, administrative obstacles. So bureaucratic and legal barriers present a major challenge to agrarian reform in Indonesia. Complex administrative process makes these barriers difficult for local communities to navigate the systems. So it sounds like error in persona in this law. So often leading to delays and limiting community participations. The lack of streamlined procedure and modernized regulations hampers effective land redistributions and discourage rural populations from fully engaging in the reform process. So what are the environmental impact? The environment, if the environmental impact of agrarian reform in Indonesia is concerned rooted in the need of sustainable practices under the agrarian law. Agrarian law in Indonesia, including the basic agrarian law of 1960, emphasize the principle of social justice, sustainability, community welfare in land use. But when agrarian reform is poorly managed, such as through unsustainable land distribution practice, deforestation, and environmental degradations can be occur. According to agrarian law itself, land redistributions should support the economic well-being for the communities. So this concern about the public interest, so the goods can be enjoyed by the public who was live around the land. Without clear guidelines for sustainable land use, redistribution lands may be exploited for agricultural expansions or other activities that damage ecosystem and also able to reduce biodiversity. For agrarian reform to succeed without harming the environment, agrarian law have to integrate stronger protections for sustainable land management. This including also the enforcing of reforestations requirements, settings, conversations area, and promoting eco-friendly practice among landholders. So even though we have quite capable methods that we form into the policies in basic agrarian law, so the government need to socialize the substantive itself to the citizens or local people that live and also want to use the right of its land, that make the legal certainty maintained in this agrarian law enforcement. So what is the solutions from the obstacles that I already said before? So the first is legal reforms. These have been as a cornerstone atau penentu of these efforts, focusing on updating outdated land laws and clarifying land ownership rights. This reform aimed to establish clear regulations or concrete regulations for the fair of land use, which are essential to resolving disputes. The second is redistributions programs. This already introduced to allocate state land to landless farmer, thereby reducing land inequality and empowering marginalized community. So government should empower the landless communities by introducing the basic agrarian law to the citizens, but the government have one obligations to socialize to make this law is concrete, not ambiguous in nature. And also land titling initiative from the citizens. This is a critical aspect of agrarian reform. Government support efforts focus on providing land titles. So as a proof, as a evidence of the person that have the ownership of a land, that basically in Indonesia, they get the certificate, the certificate. So the certificate have to be asked to the government, particularly in rural areas, to formalize land ownership by granting secure land. The government aims to reduce conflicts over the land and encourage investment in agricultural practice. And also, the last is community involvement programs. As I said before, the importance of engaging local communities. So the government should make the citizens is inclusive. So if the government inclusive the citizens, that will make the participatory law, and also the substance is aspirational. So the initiative aim to reduce land related to conflict and foster sustainable practice by ensuring that local voices and knowledge are integrated into land management strategies. So this is for the blind from the citizens atau kebutaan masyarakat, that government should be empowered. This is the homework for our government. So how? As we know, presidential decrees and new policies have a one significant step in 2019. So Presidential Decree number 86, 2018 aims to accelerate agrarian reforms. This decree outlined a framework for, for redistributing land, clarifying land rights, and also enhance and emphasize community involvement in land management. This is the key point. By prioritizing agrarian reform at the highest level of government, this decree represents a concrete effort to tackle historical inequalities and streamline the reform process and procedure. And also the one map policy. Why one map policy consists in my presentations is because this is a crucial initiative, a digital mapping initiative designed to clarify land boundaries and resolve overlapping land claims. This policy aims to create an unified. So, and also will be resulting the accurate map of a land. And also will make the concrete ownership across Indonesia. On the other hand, reducing disputes over land use and ownership because it's already have the mapping of the land itself. So it's enhance the transparency and helps local communities, business, and government agencies make informed decisions regarding land management. So what's the point that uh, I tried to explain to my friends and also the honorable our lecturer, Mr. Ricco. So while the implemented solution reflects Indonesia's commitment to agrarian reform, their effectiveness varies. The presidential decree has provided strategic frameworks, but the challenge such as bureaucratic inertia and land conflicts persist. The one map policy has potential, yet to success depends on accurate implementation and community engagement. So what does it mean actually? Um, it's for the future directions that consist in strengthening legal frameworks. Why I said like that? Because there is a need for clear and more robust legal protection for land rights, especially in marginalized communities, the landless communities. And also, I have a hope that reforms should focus on simplifying land registrations process and improving uh, access to legal resources. Actually, in my opinion, this basic agrarian law is already um, good enough as it's never be amended since 1960. But I think the government should give a socialization to the citizens that feels like this law is quite ambiguous, something like that. So and also government monitoring should monitoring and accountable by establishing mechanism for monitoring in the implementation of agrarian policies and holding institutions accountable is a quite crucial things that government should enforce. And the most important one is the transparency. The transparency in land dealings and access information can help mitigate corruptions and abuse and also may resolve all of the conflict of the land itself. Alhamdulillah, I think that's all from my presentations. I'm sorry if I have a mistakes. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.